Hey, good morning, family and friends. I'm so glad that you have taken time to join me today, Wednesday, March the 17th, for another little walk through a devotion as we get our day started. I hope that I'm being a blessing to you. If we are, share it. Let somebody else see it. Let somebody else know. And we can encourage you to walk out this life that we've been called to live. Because how many of you know that we have been called out of darkness into a marvelous light? We have been called out of darkness into marvelous light. And no matter what else may be happening around you, the truth of the matter is the life that we have been called to is the best life that you could ever possibly live. It doesn't mean that you are isolated from problems. It doesn't mean that things don't happen in your life. It doesn't mean that life doesn't continue to come at you. It just means that you are insulated. There is a hand upon your life that protects. There is a hand that guides. There is a hand that leads. There is a hand that comforts. There is a hand that holds yours even when life is difficult. And we understand that because we have come out of darkness into marvelous light, that we are not having to walk this all by ourselves. So I want to encourage you today, because I know that we are called to live a life that is countercultural. And I also know that within Christendom, there is this popular idea right now that we all, especially here in America, that we all as Christians are being persecuted. Listen, there are people around the world who are being persecuted, but for the most part, what we call persecution here in America really isn't persecution. We're not suffering for righteousness' sake. In fact, somebody said this. They said most of us who profess to be Christians aren't really suffering for righteousness' sake. We have just become insufferable. Wow. We have become insufferable. Those of us who claim to know Christ have become insufferable. If you look up the word insufferable, it means an unbearable arrogance. There's an arrogance to many people who profess to be Christians that believe that everything is owed to them, that believe that everything, nothing should be withheld from them, that everything should be given to them, that they should never be challenged on any front. And there's just this unbelievable, unbearable arrogance that has taken hold of many people who profess to be followers of Christ. And George Barna, the survey guy, George Barna said this. He said, the Christian church in America has suffered greatly beginning in the 20th century, mostly because the followers of Jesus have refused to act like Jesus. They refused to act like him. They refused to look like him. They've refused to speak like him. They've refused to become like the one who they say they're following and who they say they're worshiping. And because they have refused that, the church in America especially has suffered, because we do not act like, or we do not look like, the one who we say that we're following. So here's what I want you to do today. I know that many of you that watch me feel like the world is going to hell in a handbasket. You feel like everything is coming apart at the seams. But let me be a word of encouragement today, and let me remind you that the God that we claim to serve, the one that we have said, yes, we want you to reign in our lives, and yes, we want you to have your will and way in our lives. Guess what? That God has not given his creation up to sin and evil. He has not thrown his hands up and said, well, I guess this is a battle that I just can't win, so I'm just going to let it take its course and do what it's going to do. No, listen. Calvary settled the fact. It is finished. And now then, ever since Calvary, God has been about the business of reconciliation and restoration for the world, which includes you and which includes me. So watch this. If I am a follower of Christ, I have been given the ministry of reconciliation. The only way that the world is going to hell in a handbasket is if I abandon my post and stop fulfilling my assignment of reconciliation and restoration, the ministry which has been given to you and I because of what Christ did at Calvary. Listen, I don't live in a mindset I may be the oddball out here, but I don't live in a mindset that the world is hopeless. I live in the mindset that as long as there are believers who are going to look like and act like Jesus in this world, even if it's a remnant, God can do something tremendous with a remnant people. God can do something powerful. He can bring restoration. He can bring reconciliation. So let me just say this. I've made it a priority in my life that instead of going around pointing out the splinter in the eye of every person and everything that I come in contact with, I have begun to pray this prayer. Lord, rather than allowing me to see what's wrong with everybody else, rather than allowing me to see what's wrong with my world, all the things that are negative, all the things that could be changed, instead, show me the plank that's in my eye. Help me to take care of the business that's in my life. Because if you help me see my life correctly, then I can begin to see other people the way that you see them. And that's what I want to do. Guess what? I want to look like Jesus. I want to behave like Jesus. I want to walk and talk like Jesus in a world that needs to see him. I don't want my world to suffer because I refuse to take on the characteristics of the one who has called me out of darkness into marvelous light. Come on, somebody, rise up today. Let's go and show the world how Jesus really looks. I love you today. I'm looking forward to what God has for your life. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Have a blessed day.